Penguinz0 people are mad at me. I have no idea why. I just saw that and I was just like, okay, I kind of want to see like what's happened. Because to be fair, like Moise, he gets a lot of crap sometimes for like really weird reasons.
There is a lot of drama and controversy surrounding slapping right now, and as a
Oh,
result, I've been wrapped up like a Christmas present in the
yeah, because he's a big promoter, was a big promoter of it. I think he still kind of
middle
is.
of all of it because for the last couple of years, I've been seen as the preeminent expert on professional slapping. I'm like the Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart for slaps. I can hear
Yeah,
a slap and I can tell you who threw it. I've
he
made
was like
so much
really
content
into
on
it.
professional slapping over the last few years. I love that sport more than a fish loves water. I followed it from its humble beginnings as a circus freak show side act at a weightlifting competition.
I do think he was a major component on how why it's as big as it is. Not that it's huge, but it's way bigger than I think many were expecting.
All the way into what it's blossomed into today, an entire industry and silly niche sport. And as a
Yeah.
result, I've been catching a lot of blame for what's recently unfolded with Power Slap.
Is that the one where like they legit got really bad like injured?
Power Slap is Dana White's new slapping sport, and it is remarkably dangerous. And I'm sure if you've been on Twitter today, you've seen the viral clips from episode 1 with the wild knockouts that look like someone getting hit by 5 different trains from all angles. It's
What?
very brutal. And since I've covered slapping for so long, people are blaming me for bringing it to Dana White's attention as if I'm just like his
Who's
little
Dana
court
White?
jester who's keeping him up to date on things like slapping. He and I aren't friends. I've never spoken to him in my life. I'm not a fan of Dana White. I think the way he treats the UFC fighters is a fucking joke. I think it's criminal how bad their contracts are. And I have absolutely nothing to do with Power Slap. But I feel the need to defend myself because for a lot of people, especially UFC fans, they're looking at me as the as the supervillain, like the mustache twirling evil guy behind the scenes, the puppet master that made Dana White dance, which I actually find extremely entertaining.
Dana White's Power Slap TV rankings tank despite strong lead in from AEF or AEW Pro Wrestling.
Because Power Slap flopped harder than Morbius.
I mean, to be fair, it wasn't ever like a big thing. Like like he mentioned, it was niche.
This did not do well for him. Dana White's invested millions upon millions of dollars in this,
What?
expecting it to be a smash hit, and the only thing it smashed was his fucking wallet here. So if I truly did influence his perception of how popular slapping was, I find that to be a great joke because he invested so much money into it only for the
Yeah.
reality to slap him in the face. Contrary to popular belief, I don't like Power Slap. I don't like what Dana White is doing with it, and I'll explain why. What he's doing is significantly more dangerous than the slap fighting that I enjoy, such as
What
Slap
is he
Fight
doing?
Championship.
I mean, it's a slap fighting. Like, how much can you do difference? Like, are you able to hold a brick? Like, what's happening?
There is a very strict set of rules as well as medical supervision and regulations that they follow to
Makes
ensure that
sense.
people aren't just getting hit with fucking frying pans and forgetting who they are and where they were. Now, of course, by the very nature of this, it's dangerous. Everyone knows that, including the slappers, and everyone also knows it's dumb. That's not some secret, it's not a deep cut. Everyone knows it's stupid. And they do everything they can
But it's
to make
entertaining.
it as
Yeah.
safe as possible, except in Dana White's Power Slap. The whole thing is just supposed to be like a wow, this is silly shit that I can't look away from. That's like, ask anyone who is in the slapping scene. Even the owner of Slap Fight Championship, JT, will tell you it's just a fun, over the top, goofy sport. But he has a set of rules that keep it as safe as possible for the athletes. Rules that aren't being followed by Power Slap, even though they do borrow some of the best slappers in the world for the show. I want to show you the clip now that's floating around, and then I'm going to go over the key differences. Now, this is one of a few viral tweets that's floating around. This one is coming from an actual neuroscientist who's talking about the brain injury because after he gets knocked out, he goes into what's called the fencing position. It's actually a pretty
That does not
terrifying
look
thing,
good.
and I have no
Yeah.
doubt that this guy really did suffer greatly from this. And he's far from alone. This isn't some like crazy accident that no one could have seen coming. Every knockout they show in the clips that's floating around are all pretty devastating, and I'm sure they will have residual
Jeez.
effects for quite some time as a result. Now, to the untrained eye, this seems like business as usual for slapping sports,
It
but
does.
there's
What's
actually some
different?
very key differences. The first, and in my opinion, one of the biggest problems, is the absence of the no stepping rule. Now, to
I did see that because they were leaning into those hits, which I don't remember seeing in the other slap
be
fights.
fair, they do have stepping listed as one of the fouls, but it's not enforced in the actual show, so it might as well just not have even been written down in the first place. It basically is absent. In normal slapping tournaments, you're not allowed to step into your slaps. It's all just upper body rotation. You can't be like, doing like a Happy Gilmore up to the barrel and then slapping them on the way
Yeah,
by with a drive by. Because obviously, when you're stepping into a
you're
slap,
putting your whole
you're
body.
generating significantly more power with it.
Yep,
And since you're not able to defend yourself in slapping, they're taking the full force of this wallop. They're getting served a quarter pounder with quadruple cheese. It's a
that's
lot more
crazy.
force
How did
behind
they
that because they stepped
let that
into it.
go?
Now, you might be asking yourself, why aren't they enforcing a no stepping rule if it's so commonplace? And the answer is because Dana White only cares about the spectacle of the sport.
Yeah, that's what it seems like. He has absolutely like no concern whatsoever for the health of the fighters. Like, not fighters, you know what I mean, the slappers. But it's still like, man, like, can you not? Is it in the contract that you can't sue if you get brain damage? So that's why he's like, well, who cares?
And in his little smooth brain, he thinks the spectacle is just big KOs. So the more
Yeah,
KOs, the more people are going to get interested and hype and excited, the more people will watch it, which is more money in his pocket. So
no way. After seeing what I just saw, like, it actually kind of grossed me out. Like, that person, when they did, like, they fell over, they tried to get up, and they did, like, a flip. I'm like, dude, you're done. Like, that's not even fun.
anything to really increase the amount of KOs, I imagine Dana White views as a positive thing. So they're not enforcing a strict no stepping rule, which is leading to significantly more knockouts in Power Slap than in any other slapping tournament I've ever seen. Compare this to any other slapping tournament, and it's like 10x in Power Slap. And it's not just because of the no stepping rule, they also don't really enforce clubbing. Another common rule in slapping is no clubbing. That refers to not hitting with like this part of your hand.
Yeah.
Because at that point, you're basically just fucking punching the person. It's like a monk
Yeah, I was gonna say, there's martial arts with hitting with the palm, so.
strike, like a monk palm strike to the face. What you're supposed to be hitting with is up in here. I'm giving the anatomy of a slap right now, but this is what you're looking to actually hit someone with when it comes to
Exactly.
slapping. It still generates
Man.
power. It's still
Like, they can step in and use their palm. That's no different than if, like, imagine, like, UFC, but it was just, like, a turn-based game. Like, it would not end well.
nice, loud Looney Tunes level noise with a slap, and it's still exciting, but it's not nearly as dangerous or potentially fatal as getting clubbed like this. That's very serious, by the way. There actually has been a fatality as a result of slapping tournaments
No.
where a famous strongman from
Are
Poland
you
named
serious?
Artur unfortunately passed away due to the injury he suffered in a slapping tournament. I actually made a video, I think 2 videos on this guy. Artur was this absolutely massive strongman. He was really cool, but unfortunately he passed away due to the injury he suffered in a slapping tournament. It was absolutely tragic, and it's why safety needs to be taken very seriously when it comes to this
Yeah.
sport, which right now Power Slap isn't doing at all. It's like handing a loaded gun to a toddler in the dark. If you watch all of the KOs that are floating around on Twitter from Power Slap, every single one of them pretty much is a club. It would be called a
Yeah.
club in every other slapping event except Power Slap, I guess. It is just non-stop clubbing.
This probably is gonna hurt slapping, like, as a whole, like, as a sport. I'm just gonna be like, I honestly think, like, many people are just gonna be turned off due to this amount of damage that's being done.
There. So the fact that Dana White's wiping his ass with any level of rules that help the fighters not suffer life-changing injuries is pretty disgraceful. It's not because he didn't know about these rules either, by the way. He's someone who's clearly done his research on it because he's emulated and even taken things from like Slap Fight Championship. But for some reason,
he even
he's
has
not
it in the
actually
rules.
enforcing the rules
Yeah.
because he's too enamored with all of the knockouts. And there have been pretty much non-stop knockouts from Power Slap, it seems. Which isn't really something to be celebrating because these are real people that are
Yeah.
taking this damage. So I
And this could mess them up for life. And I have a feeling there's no recourse for them. Like they just are, they're effed, pretty much. Their family's gonna have to take care of them for forever. Like this is really bad.
don't like Power Slap, and I don't like people assuming
If they even have family that would do that for them, like you gotta remember, like there's a lot of selfish people. So I don't. Man, this is really upsetting. Like I don't really pay attention to this stuff, but it's like, dude, what is wrong with this? This should be illegal. Like just straight up, how is this legal?
that I do. I really think there's a world of difference between something like Slap Fight Championship and what Dana White's doing here. Like I wouldn't
Yeah, to me, honestly, I think Dana White should be sued by like a class actions lawsuit by anyone who was injured by people breaking the rules and him not enforcing those rules in like to begin with.
be surprised if in the next episode they have like a halftime show where two
Because imagine in like football, if all of a sudden like some dude put a spike on his freaking like shoulders and he was just tackling people and impaling them. Like, yeah, it's against the rules, but imagine like if NFL was like, yeah, but we're not going to do anything.
people just hit each other in the face with baseball bats until one of them loses their entire fucking head, just gets decapitated. Like it's just very clearly designed to just maximize the amount of knockouts, which I just don't agree with. So to all of the UFC fans that are upset at me for talking,
Anyone who's upset at Critical is a fucking idiot, or Moist here is a fucking idiot. Like, it's Dana White. That's all it is. Because it's not slapping is the problem. It's the lack of ethics.
talking about slapping and making content about slapping for
And honestly, I do think this, I don't know if like Legal Eagle will even look into, or like YouTube lawyers will take a look into this, but this seems illegal to me, right? You can't just invent a sport that is like giving almost half the players a like mental disorders.
for a couple of years now. I really think you and I are on the same team. I don't support what Dana White's doing. Yes, I do love the novelty and the
Look at this. I never do this. Subscribe, like.
thrill of watching a slapping tournament, but one that's handled professionally that
Yeah.
does have the slap fighter's health in mind.
Or at least is enforcing the freaking rules. Like that's, I don't know. That to me is the worst part. Is like, because if you were getting disqualified for these things, like no one would do them, right? Because it's not worth it. Yes, you beat the opponent, but guess what? You're out of the tournament, so you might as well have lost. And not only that, you hurt the person, so no one really likes you. So it's like, it's a lose-lose. It's why people don't really break the rules in the other sports like boxing and stuff. I mean, they'll try to get away with it, but most don't. Not at the tournament scene.
Mind. Of course, I just recently made a video about one that was equally as dangerous as Dana White's slapping tournament, the one where that guy's face got like actually
Yeah, but that was also like, that guy chose to do that. He went from, it looked like he went from one tournament to another, and like that's, he wouldn't give up. Like he just kept getting right back up. I think they should have forced him to concede after a certain point, but that one's like a more of a gray area than this. Only because this one, they're obviously breaking the rules, and there should have been a rule for no clubbing. Just because it's not much difference between the palm of your hand and an actual fist.
completely rearranged. But that one I was talking about it being extremely dangerous too. But anyway, point is, I don't like power slap. So yeah, that's about it. So yeah, is a
Like power slap sounds absolutely bad. Like not only bad, but it's really stupid. Man. That's crazy that that is happening. That's like if you invented a sport and just wanted to bring back the old like gladiators from like Greece. And no one's like batting an eye to it. It just seems to me like it's pretty obvious that it should be illegal if it's not. Like it's just crazy.